Muy bien, vamos a retomar. En este momento vamos a hacer un Firechat, una mirada transversal a los principios ESG y diversidad de género como catalizador de valor en capital privado. Para introducir el tema de impacto, voy a invitar a Tim Reggie, fundador y Managing Director de Alpha Mundi. Bienvenido, el escenario es suyo.
Buenas tardes. Es un placer estar aquí. Soy Tim, vivo en Suiza y hace 10 años que estamos invirtiendo en la región en empresas sostenibles. Entonces, Alpha Mundi tiene su sede para la región en Bogotá. En los últimos 10 años hemos financiado unas 50 empresas en África y América Latina con deuda privada y capital riesgo. Somos partes de ese nuevo movimiento que lleva casi una década de inversión de impacto. Y si me permiten, les voy a contar un poco el cambio de paradigma que se está dando en Suiza y en Europa a nivel de la industria financiera y que seguramente tendrá su impacto aquí también en la región. Estamos entrando, según los científicos, en la sexta época de extinción masiva, es decir, en los últimos 40 años hemos perdido un promedio de 60% de las especies animales del mundo. Y como todos hemos visto el año pasado, en los incendios del Amazonas y de Australia, es un problema que va ampliando, ¿no? El cambio climático ya hemos abandonado el escenario de 1.5 grados de aumento de temperatura global y estamos en un escenario de 2.5 grados. Eso de manera concreta se traduciría, por ejemplo, en una subida de los océanos de 1 metro y la pérdida de más del 50% de las playas del mundo en los próximos 30 años. Desde el año pasado hay más refugiados del cambio climático que refugiados de conflicto armado. Y estos desequilibrios medioambientales también los vemos en la área social. Si miramos la distribución de riquezas, por ejemplo, los 22 hombres más afortunados, más ricos del mundo tienen más riquezas que todas las mujeres de África. Y el 1% de la población más rica a nivel mundial tiene más riqueza que el 60% de la población del planeta, ¿no? Aquí en Colombia también se ve mucha desigualdad. Hay una pobreza marcada en zonas rurales, tienen millones de desplazados del conflicto y más ven a refugiados principalmente de Venezuela. Hay regiones desatendidas a nivel de la atención gubernamental y los recursos públicos. Así que esos temas globales los vemos trasladados de manera muy concreta en cada país del mundo. Y es por eso que los gobiernos de Europa y Suiza han decidido cambiar el marco regulatorio para la industria financiera. Al momento ya es obligatorio para todos los gerentes profesionales de activos financieros en Europa y en Suiza reportar anualmente el impacto carbón de sus inversiones, de su cartera de inversión. En los 3 próximos años va a ser obligatorio invertir todos sus activos de manera sostenible. Si uno no quiere invertir de manera sostenible, tiene que demostrar que puede generar más alfa con inversiones que no son sostenibles que con las inversiones que son sostenibles. Así que a lo que vamos es un cambio de la interpretación y la definición del deber fiduciario, ¿no? Desde el año próximo en Europa y en Suiza. Ahora, hemos hablado de temas de ESG y ahora vamos a tener a 2 expertas que van a practicar el tema. ESG es un tema histórico que en Suiza y en Europa lleva más de 30 años. Hemos empezado con temas de exclusión, no queremos invertir en la producción de armas o en la producción de petróleo, por ejemplo. Después pasamos a los mejores en clase, es decir, podemos invertir en cualquier empresa de cualquier sector mientras demuestra un comportamiento de responsabilidad social empresarial. Hoy en día estamos pasando ya a una perspectiva de inversión temática que es la inversión de impacto. La inversión de impacto es muy sencilla, es cualquier inversión que es rentable y que permite la medida precisa y cuantitativa del impacto económico, social y medioambiental de su inversión. En 10 años hemos construido a nivel global una cartera de inversión de 500 billones de dólares en inversión de impacto. Somos el segmento de industria financiera que más rápido crece a nivel global, con crecimiento promedio de más de 25% en activos, en productos y en gerentes. Y pensamos que en los próximos 5 años llegaremos a capturar el 2% de los activos financieros globales con temas de inversión de impacto. Para aclarar, la inversión de impacto se puede aplicar a casi cualquier clase de activo, cualquier sector y cualquier región. La IFC el año pasado ha armado unos principios operativos de la inversión de impacto y han sido firmados por unos 90 inversores institucionales que representan más de 300 billones de dólares en inversión total. Perdón. Entonces, lo que me gustaría hacer es invitarles para el año próximo a Suiza. Desde el año pasado tenemos una colaboración con las Naciones Unidas y esa colaboración con las Naciones Unidas apunta a seleccionar un país por continente. Para el año próximo esperamos seleccionar a Colombia y promocionar a este país como un destino de inversión extranjera y de desarrollo sostenible. Así que si cualquiera de ustedes conocen a empresas o proyectos o fondos que tienen un impacto sostenible y que operan aquí en Colombia, por favor introducirlos a mi organización Alfamundi. Nos pueden encontrar en nuestra página web o en LinkedIn o después en el café y con mucho gusto haremos una selección de los mejores emprendedores y mejores proyectos de desarrollo sostenible de Colombia y los llevaremos a Suiza para presentarlos a unos 200 inversores institucionales y a varias agencias de desarrollo de Europa. Así que es un placer presentarles el tema de inversión de impacto y dejo el escenario a las expertas en términos de géneros y ESG. Gracias.
Gracias, Tim. Así como lo dijiste, entonces en el escenario nos van a acompañar Caitlin Bacon, Senior Advisor de Harvard Best, y Patricia Sáenz, Managing Director de EWA Capital, para seguir hablando del tema. Señoras, sean bienvenidas acá al escenario. Buenas tardes, adelante, por favor.
Hola a todos, buenas tardes. Primero, perdón por mi voz, tampoco es coronavirus, es más un resfriado normal colombiano. Bueno, hoy estamos felices de estar acá y sobre todo de liderar este panel con Caitlin, porque es una de las personas que realmente ha tenido un recorrido súper importante en la industria de fondos de capital privado a nivel internacional en ESG y comparte la pasión por toda la parte de equidad de género, que también es algo que nosotros desde EWA Capital estamos absolutamente comprometidos. So, thank you very much for being here. So first of all, I would like you to tell us a little bit about your background, if you could tell us about everything that you have done before.
Okay. Sí, funciona. So, gracias a ColCapital y Fidu Occidente para la invitación. Y es todo que puedo decir en español, so now I will speak in English. Yes, a bit about my background. I was a managing director at Harbour Vest Partners for 25 years based in London. I was on the primary partnership team, so investing in funds, but I also sat on our firm's global investment committee and reviewed billions of dollars of investments every year, both in new funds, in secondary investments, and co-investments. And my partners decided that I would also be the ideal person to establish our ESG committee at Harbour Vest, which we founded 6 years ago. And I'm very, very proud to say that we've built it up to, I think, a top-of-class ESG committee, policy, and we've got some amazing results coming out of that. So that was my day job, and outside of my day job, I also was a founder of Level 20, which I think was mentioned in the prior panel, a couple panels ago. And let me just explain what Level 20 is. Level 20 is an organization that aims to attract and retain women in private equity so that at least 20% of senior investment professionals in the investment world in private equity in Europe would be female. And we are making huge strides in that goal, in that ambition. We have now over 3,500 members of Level 20, that's women and men. We have 11 different countries in Europe participating in Level 20. We have close to 60 GP sponsors who not only give us their cash to fund all of our initiatives, but also their time and energy. And these are some of the biggest, most important, powerful GPs in Europe sponsoring us. And we have 3 or 4 different initiatives. One is networking, very important, very highly structured. Again, trying to get both male and women participation in networking. We've got a mentoring program where now over 400 mentors and mentees have been through the program. We also have an outreach program where we're talking to universities as well as some secondary schools about what private equity is and why it's such an awesome asset class or awesome industry to be a part of. And we're targeting, obviously, a lot of women in that regard. And last but not least, we're also doing a lot of research, and we're partnering up with institutions like the BVCA. And I am now on a task force that is working on trying to build a template more from the GP side of how to measure diversity within their teams. You may know that a couple weeks ago, ILPA put out a template with an LP perspective of trying to get this information out of GPs, but Level 20 is trying to do something just slightly different from that. So that's my background.
Wow. So one of the things that I would love from you is like, here in Latin America, everyone is talking about right now about gender equality. And for example, one of the things that we have here is like the people are thinking like this is a trend, and it's like something like it's just like happening right now. We don't think so. And I want you to tell us about the process that you had in HarvardVest to incorporate ESG practices and how has been the results. Because I think like the data is something that we need for everyone to know, so they will change their mind and they will start talking about this gender equality approach that is very important.
Right. So we debated this word trend. I think it is a trend that hopefully will lead to a change in the composition of decision makers within the private equity field. But we need to embrace it, and we do need to promote it so that it will become a reality in the future. Because right now, the statistic that I can quote you is out of the British Venture Capital Association research, only 6% of senior individuals within private equity firms within the UK are female. So we have a long way to go. So it is trending in the right direction, but there's a long way to go. So at HarvardVest, just in general, as mentioned, we set up our ESG committee about 6 years ago. And simplifying what we're trying to do is we are trying to educate the GPs on why ESG is important and how to set up policies within their firms to incorporate ESG. And obviously, one of the elements of ESG is to build a more diverse management company and to invest in more diverse senior level positions within their companies. So we do measure it, but in order for us to be a leader in this initiative, you have to demonstrate within your own firm that this is something that is important to you. This does not happen overnight. And again, I know in a prior panel, I think one of the investors said, we don't want you to just hire a woman 2 days before we come and visit you when you're fundraising. This is something that has to be incorporated in the culture of your firm, in the policies of your firm in order to attract and retain women within your firm. And I have to say at HarvardVest, we've been unbelievably fortunate because our founding partners 35 years ago were always thinking that that was a good way to build your business. So, so at HarborVest, for example, because of the culture, because of our real desire to build a diverse firm, our overall profile within our company is 55% male, 45% female. Of the managing directors in our firm, 27% are female. I should add that we just did a round of promotions. There were 3 people promoted, 2 were women. One of them is sitting in this room here, which is fantastic. And in that regard, 37% of our offices outside of the United States are run by women. So we have some pretty amazing statistics, and I think, again, we can go to the general partners that we speak to and pretty much say that we walk the walk in what we're trying to promote in the industry. I can also, if you want, talk about some interesting performance figures as well.
Yep.
So again, we're not promoting diversity just because we think it's a kind of neat trend or idea. We are in this business, and I think everybody in this room would agree, it's about performance. It's about making returns for the pensioners who have worked their whole lives to be able to survive on their pension going forward. So it's all about performance, 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 performance. So at HarborVest, we have been investing in minority-owned businesses dating back 15 years. So we've got an amazing data set. A minority-owned firm is a firm that has at least 25% of the ownership in minority hands. So it could either be by gender or by ethnicity. So again, this data is going back 15 years. We compared the managers who are minority-led to managers who aren't minority-led, and we cut it out by different vintage years. And we have discovered that the minority-led, minority-owned firms outperform the less diverse managers by anywhere from 80 to 300 basis points, which in my mind is significant.
Great. Just coming back to what you were mentioning, the team that you have at HarborVest, how was the change? I mean, did HarborVest change something in the culture to attract more women? Because I have been talking here with a lot of people from private equity, and they are like, okay, we are trying, and we are trying to get more women, but at the end of the day, it's like 80% is applying by men, and so probably is the organization. How was that process too?
So, I'm going to lead with culture. You have to be open to working with people who have different ideas, who like to innovate, who like to think differently. And you have to, again, make decisions as a non-homogeneous management team. So culture, obviously very important, but you also have to have policies in place, again, to promote a more inclusive culture, a culture that everybody feels comfortable in. And so again, I think the statistic of how many women in our firm are managing directors, or how many of the managing directors are women, would suggest that our promotion policy or our management policies give a lot of support to women all across their career. And we all know that in order to get to be a managing director, it takes years and years of experience, and there are going to be some years where, you know, you're going to be, let's say, having children during those years. And the policies that you have in place within your firms have to adapt to more flexibility within the workforce. And so our partners have been very, very helpful in supporting women who have gone off on maternity leave, have communicated about what life will be like when you come back from maternity leave. There's a huge amount of fear when you go out of the workforce about what life is going to be like when you come back. And you have to have a good communication system set up as to how that's going to work by example. So, and I would say recently we have set up an even more formalized diversity and inclusion council, which has about 25 members across the globe in it. And they talk about issues within our firm about how to set up more internal networking for different, for women, but also for different ethnic groups within our firm. We've also talked about maternity policies, paternity policies, flexible work arrangements. So it's pretty all-encompassing, I'd say, within HarborVest. We're a big firm, we're 600 people, and I know a lot of firms sitting in the room are much smaller firms, but I think these principles still apply to small firms as well.
We have here a lot about the new board diversity rule from Goldman Sachs in terms of gender, which we think is great, but what else can we do to close the gender gap?
Yeah, that's the big million-dollar question, which I don't have all of the answers. And I think, if you don't mind me saying, in a country like Colombia, it's an even more difficult question to answer. Because I think, again, you can have the top-down approach where maybe some of the limited partners in this room are putting pressure on the GPs to create a better gender balance in the firms. Goldman Sachs has obviously signaled they're not going to take any company public unless there's some sort of female representation on the board or at the C-level of those companies. So that top-down pressure is very important to make change. But the other, I think, elements of success in creating more gender diversity is the acceptance that women have historically been also the primary carers of children out there. And I think a lot of women think that if they continue with a very demanding full-time job, that something's going to give in raising their children. And so they need support. They can get support from their broader family. Hopefully they get support from their husbands. But I would also say, from the examples that I have, that a lot of successful women have partners who are unbelievably supportive of their careers, and that's a nice thing. And I think actually it's also a really good success for a very successful partnership.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question is like, well, more in terms of this one, is like, could you tell us a little bit, what do you think like the woman should do to be more involved? You were talking to me and we're saying like pretty much like women are scared about talking, speaking up.
Right.
So could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So one of the things I'm most active with in Level 20 is the mentoring program. And I've also done a lot of mentoring within HarborVest. And to me, a key success factor in allowing women to thrive in an organization, and again, allowing an organization to thrive because there are more women in the organization, is all about communication. So some advice that I give to women, for example, if to manage their career, is to say, let me also be very sort of categoric that I think private equity firms are really badly managed. Most private equity people just want to do deals, which is great, but they don't think about how to manage human capital or human talent within their firms. So again, this applies not just to women, but to men as well, is to manage up, talk to your bosses, or whoever's managing your career, and say, what is it that I have to do in the next 12 months to further my career? What are my top 3 or 4 goals? How are we going to monitor those goals? And then I would also say that women and I'm generalizing, tend to under-promote themselves or undersell themselves. So I spent a lot of time with women saying, okay, we're going to practice this discussion, your year-end discussion in front of your boss, and we're going to be factual. We're going to go back to those goals. We're going to measure those goals and see whether you outperformed or not. But we're going to lean forward. We're going to be positive about this. We're not going to apologize for anything. And so, again, how people communicate to further their careers is very important. And again, if there's a part of your career that isn't going the way you planned it, or again, if you have to take time off for maternity, for ill health, for whatever, again, this applies to men and women, it's about speaking with your team on how that is going to work. And people just are afraid of doing that. But if you don't mention what has to change or how maybe the team can adapt to a different life circumstance, then people aren't going to adapt. So you have to open your mouth, you have to ask. And it is surprising to everyone how accommodating your firm will be if you just really just open your mouth and ask.
Yeah. And I think like I would add to that is like when we were talking about women, I think like women always feel like guilty, to leave the family, to have, like the trade-off is like if I'm working here, I'm leaving my family, I'm not right now with my kids. So at the end of the day, it's like to compensate, like you have to, yes, it's a trade-off. Everything in life is a trade-off. But at the end, it's like you can be on holidays or you can do another thing, but it's not feeling guilty about leaving the family. And another thing, like what you were saying, is like the parents, the father can also help a lot. And that gives up plenty of opportunity for the woman to a success in the career, which at the end of the day is very good for the whole family, no?
Absolutely. I think there are a lot of men out there who would like to, I think, spend more time with their children. And yeah, so I do think it's a win-win situation for, again, that partnership of husband and wife or partner and partner, that, there can be a better balance out there.
Perfect. Do you think there would be an added benefit to woman-led companies if there were more female GPs?
I do. I think a lot of things do come down to numbers. And if you had more women decision makers within a GP or within a manager, there would be more networking opportunities. But I think also the word that we haven't used yet is there is a lot of unconscious bias that goes on in decision making. Some unconscious bias is very good, it's very healthy, but some is not. And I do think that when women come in to promote their company or try to raise funds from a private equity firm, having women decision makers at the table will change the conversation, I think, more in favor of those opportunities. And so by definition, I think there will be more opportunities for female-led or female participation within companies. And again, I think that's fantastic for society. I think, women are 50% of the population, we're 50% of the consumers, we're 50% of the decision makers in terms of how things get done. It makes sense to promote more women in business, full stop.
Okay. If I would ask you like 3 things, probably the 3 things that we have to go today with and say like, what should we do to get more involvement of gender or also ESG, because here, for example, we are just starting to do the ESG part, and some people are like kind of scared. I was laughing the other day because some people are still in the state of denial, that this is not going to happen, and we are like, no, this is happening. So thinking about like Latin America is just starting in that, what do you think like should be like the correct path to start?
Well, you probably named the first one. At our AGM a couple of years ago, I did make a presentation on ESG, but I asked our CEO of the company to do a sort of Slido poll of everyone in the audience. And the question was, who out there believe in ESG? Like, who are believers? Who really think that ESG makes a difference within their portfolio? And the statistic came up, 75% did, but there were 25% who didn't. And so I do think that you need to first embrace the concepts of why ESG is good for business, full stop, and again, why it will enhance performance by creating more opportunities and hopefully lowering the risk within your portfolio. And then the next important thing is measuring things. So I mentioned that the LPs through ILPA and other initiatives are really pushing this concept of measuring diversity, again, not just gender diversity, but ethnic diversity within GPs. And without the numbers, it's hard to manage. It's hard to figure out within your firm, how can we, again, make this a more diverse place to work. And the third thing would be, yeah, I guess this is a little bit self-serving maybe, but I think doing something like Level 20, where there is an initiative out there that's got a lot of energy and a lot of programming around it, and it's got the backing of the people who matter, which are the GPs themselves. To me, that's a really good initiative. And we didn't practice that question, so that's why it was so hard.
No, well, this one we didn't practice too, but I was wondering, like, everyone is creating, groups, and for example, we have a Latin American venture capital group for women, but what do you think we can do to get something done, beside of the group, and that the people, and the GPs and that, so how can it be like to come like a real outcome? Like, for example, in level 20, what did you do and how do you measure it?
Right. So again, the metrics that I put out there, I think, are necessary metrics, but they don't tell you the end game. I mean, the end game for us, again, is to move that research statistic in the BVCA, but also we're working with Invest Europe to figure out what is the starting point. Going from it could be anywhere from 6 to 9% up to the figure that a lot of people quote, to make a difference or to feel like there is a difference in decision making, is somewhere around the 20 or 30% mark. Ideally, it would be 50%, but I think we would aim for 20 or 30%. And I would say that we don't have those numbers yet, but at least we've baselined them. And now with this survey that we're trying to develop for the GPs, I think there's going to be a big step change in how they are reporting their diversity figures. So again, without the measurement, it's hard to make a difference. But I would tell you, I think the statistics like, 60 general partners have financed anywhere from, 10,000 to 35,000 per annum to support this. And not only is it a monetary support, but we've set up an advisory panel that is mostly male GPs within the governance of Level 20. We've got the GPs being mentors. I mean, these are the senior, leaders of these firms being mentors to the up-and-coming managing director women, not within their firms, but firms, women who work in the industry, not in their companies. So I do think that the funnel is being built within the GP managers based in Europe. There's been a huge drive to hire more women in the bottom of the companies, but only time will tell if we can get to that 20-30% in the senior. So you have to start, I guess is my point. You have to build these initiatives. You have to get the conversation going. You have to make it real, through the different programming that you have. And I have to say, it's been just one of the most exciting things that I've been involved with in my career.
Well, and it's something that the investors are asking for, no? And it's something that will help everyone to the fundraising, that it's something that everyone is concerned here in LATAM, so should be start. Well, thank you so much, and thank you all for being here.
Señoras, un gusto tenerlas acá en el escenario. Muchísimas gracias por sus valiosos aportes.